Today, we're digging into one of history's greatest vanishing acts, the collapse of the incredible classic Maya civilization. I mean, really think about that for a second. How could a society that built these monumental cities, that mastered astronomy and mathematics, that had complex writing systems, how could they just fade away? That's the giant question we are tackling. All right, so first, let's just paint a picture here. Before everything fell apart, the Maya weren't just getting by in the jungles of Mesoamerica. No. They were absolutely thriving on a scale that is honestly still pretty hard to wrap your head around. These were, without a doubt, brilliant people. We're talking about advanced mathematicians and astronomers who could chart the stars with unbelievable precision. All that knowledge, it went into their super complex calendars and their farming. And, of course, they were master architects, raising these enormous cities that just dominated the landscape. And then, something went catastrophically wrong. In the span of just a couple hundred years, those great southern cities were abandoned. The royal lines just ended. They stopped carving monuments. The jungle started swallowing up what was once this bustling, incredible civilization. So what on earth happened? Well, to find the answers, scientists basically had to become detectives. And their crime scene? Believe it or not, it was the bottom of a lake. The key piece of evidence here is something called a sediment core. The best way to think about it is like a perfect history book for a lake. Every single year, a new layer of mud settles on the bottom, and it traps a little snapshot of the environment from that time. Clues about rainfall, the temperature, you name it. So the investigation zeroed in on Lake Chichen Canab, which is smack in the middle of old Maya territory. Researchers drilled deep down into that lakebed, and by pulling up these cores, they could read that natural archive, basically traveling back in time, layer by layer, year by year. And here it is, the smoking gun. The data showed an absolutely catastrophic drop in rain. We're talking a 50% decrease, and at its worst, as much as 70%. You have to understand, this wasn't just a dry spell. This was a series of relentless, devastating droughts that went on for years. And the science they used was just so cool. They looked at these gypsum crystals that formed during the droughts. See, these crystals trapped microscopic pockets of what you could call fossil water. As one researcher, Nick Evans, put it, it's the closest we'll ever get to literally sampling the water from 1,000 years ago. Just amazing. But here's where the story gets even bigger. This wasn't just a local problem. All the evidence started pointing to something much, much larger, a massive shift in the entire planet's climate patterns. Yeah, the droughts that brought the Maya to their knees, they weren't some random local event. Turns out, they were directly connected to huge weather events happening thousands of miles away. The fate of the Maya was tied directly to the climate in Europe. So how in the world does that work? Okay, to put it simply, when Europe was going through a warm spell, a giant atmospheric engine called the Hadley cell got bigger. This pulled the tropical rain belt north, bringing plenty of rain to the Maya. But when Europe got cold, that whole system shrank. The rain belt shifted south, completely missing the Maya and leaving them high and dry in a crippling drought. And get this, we actually have historical records that back this up. While the Maya were suffering through these insane droughts, chronicles in Europe were reporting incredibly harsh winters. We're talking about records of a snowfall that lasted for 3 months, the Nile River freezing over in Egypt, people crossing the frozen Adriatic Sea on carts. It was two sides of the very same global climate coin. But, climate isn't the whole story. It never is. The real drama, the really fascinating part, is how different Maya societies tried to deal with this crisis. And it really was a tale of two completely different strategies. You have to remember, the Maya world wasn't all one thing. Some areas naturally had a lot of water, rivers, wetlands, you name it, but other places were extremely dry. And as you'd expect, these different environments led to totally different ways of managing their water. So on one hand, in the really dry regions, like the famous city of Tikal, the rulers went all in on these massive centralized water projects. I'm talking huge reservoirs, dams, canals. And it worked. It allowed their cities to absolutely boom. But it also made them totally dependent on this complicated, expensive system. On the other hand, you had places with plenty of water, like Saturday Creek. Their systems were way simpler, wells using natural wetlands, managed by individual families. This made them so much more flexible and way more resilient. And this gets to the absolute heart of the paradox here. The very engineering marvels that made cities like Tikal into superpowers also became their Achilles heel. Because when the droughts hit hard and the political situation got shaky, those giant, complex systems were the first things to fail. And when they failed, the cities fell with them. You know, the story of the Maya isn't just some dusty piece of ancient history. It holds some incredibly powerful lessons for us right now, especially as we face our own challenges with climate change and water security. The research really boils it all down to 4 huge takeaways. First, one size does not fit all. You need a mix of solutions. Second, going all in on one giant, expensive fix can actually make you more vulnerable in the long run. Third, even having tons of water can be a trap. They call it the deception of abundance, where you just mismanage it. And finally, the key to security is diversity. Having a mix of technologies and strategies gives you flexibility. So, that leaves us with the big final question, doesn't it? The Maya faced a changing climate they couldn't control, and how they responded sealed their fate. As we face our own period of massive climate change, what path are we taking? Are we building systems that are flexible and resilient? Or are we, like some of those ancient Maya kings, building powerful solutions that might just prove to be too brittle to survive a shock?